Hey, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And today I thought I'd dress up in my Hawaii dress. And the reason I'm dressing up in that, not just because I feel like it, is because I kind of woke up with a dream where, I was with my leadership colleagues and mentors, and I remember the amazing times that we had in Hawaii, the last one in December 2019 before all this COVID stuff hit. And there we were together, free to hug each other, free to not have masks on, and we were actually writing our books. And anyway, so it was such a great time. Sometimes just having a piece of that memory is wonderful to have. So I thought I'd decide I'm going to be in this energy while I do this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest, my Hawaii energy. Okay, so what are we talking about this week? Well, a lot of people have been experiencing, myself as well, kind of the consequences of the various planets in retrograde. Now, I am not an astrologer or astrologist. I know very little about that subject, except that energetically, I'm certainly sensitive to the feelings of it. I know we're going to be going through eclipses as well. Again, I'm not an astrologer, not an astrologist. However, what I do is observe. So I observe a lot of people going into frustration because their machinery won't work, myself included, although my frustration levels, I have to say, is probably a 3 or 2 out of 10 versus like 10 out of 10 like they used to be when things wouldn't work my way. So in my case, I have 3 Lenovo laptop computers, and besides having the little doohickey thing that plugs in, that charges them, being the same one, it's super convenient. Actually, we have 4 Lenovo computers, including my husband's laptop, gaming laptop. But anyway, so my 2 main computers wouldn't work fast enough. It just was like really slow. And then I found out that they had some major Windows updates. So here I'm like, okay, well, let me do these updates, right? Oh my gosh, hours, taking hours, right? So literally, if you were on last Saturday's interview, where, I was so excited because it was like, the Living Energy Day. It was like Nia Peoples and David Wolf, Richard Fluke, my hero Bruce Lipton, and then me, right? So I was like, yeah, I'm on this telesome with these awesome guys. And of course, the internet just goes, midway through my interview, which, has not happened before. But I thought, oh, great, this is a great abundance challenge. So here I am scrambling, to get on my phone. And of course, where I live, I'm pretty far from the cell towers, so the phone doesn't connect really well. So I'm going outside, and then of course it rains. And I'm trying to connect to the call, and I'm kind of giggling and laughing, and I'm like, well, no one died. And this is what I used to tell my patients, right? Because they get stressed over what a lot of times we call the small stuff, meaning that, no one's life is in danger. So I'm out there going, okay, I've got to coach myself. So just don't sweat the small stuff. I'm going into stillness, and I'm telling Archangel Uriel and the angels, can you please stop the rain? Okay, just wait until after my interview, right? So of course they do that. And then we finished the interview, and it was super fun. But, I ended up spending probably 6 or 7 hours with the tech people, which were really hard to get a hold of, by the way, because of COVID-19. They didn't have anyway, long story. So, so I could feel that frustration wanting to well up. And so I thought I'd ask God a little bit about, what's going on with electronic equipment and things like that during the retrogrades, like what that's about. And the answer was really interesting. So I don't know if this is true of all retrogrades, but for this particular one, anyway, what I got was that there are some shifts and changes with us in humanity. So retrograde, of course, it can affect everything, but that a lot of the electronic equipment issues that we are experiencing have to do with humanity, us. So I'm like, okay, what is that? Is it interference? Is it entities? The answer is, well, in this case, no. So what this is really interesting are emotions, specifically frustration, okay, actually can jam our equipment. And I've had this happen before a long time ago, and many of my fibromyalgia patients in the past, we all laugh, because I used to be one of them, we all laugh about how we can just walk by a computer and completely kill it. or freeze it, or, the radio goes dead, or, something like that. And it's an energetic thing. It's like our energy is so chaotic or whacked out, when we're sick, that we can literally interfere energetically with electronic equipment. So get this. So if you get frustrated over little things, you're more likely during retrogrades to mess up your computers, your devices, and things like that, which then causes you more frustration, and then the cycle continues, and then things get worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Right, so here I am telling you this message. So one of the challenges, and this is a benefit of the retrogrades, is learning to really control that power we have within, because our emotions are so powerful, and they are powerful manifestors. And if you can harness your emotions in a positive way for positive manifesting, that means practicing what it feels like to be in that ideal new reality of yours. What does it feel like emotionally? Then you can charge up your future reality, something you desire and want versus something you don't want, which is more frustration, right? So this is like a message for us to really get a handle on this emotional power we have to manifest our future. So if you feel yourself getting frustrated, it is completely okay. It's completely human. And if you can remember in that moment, or maybe several moments later, to go into stillness. Now, the way I do it is through stillness, through observing internal movement. So what happens is that the frustration comes up, and then I tune into my body and literally ask my body and acknowledge and pay attention to the body. What are you doing right now? So I literally feel the frustration, then go within. I focus on the energy within. I focus on any movement of energy within. And then I feel this movement, and I go, oh, that's what frustration feels like in my body, right? And I just let it be there. I just focus within. I feel it. I follow it, see where it goes. And it's very interesting because it almost, for me, instantly gets me into a place of calm and stillness. Like my mind stops, chattering, and I'm just being. And oftentimes this increases the speed with which, whether it be, electronic equipment repairing or any positive manifesting that I'd like to, materialize, it seems to be much faster when I get into those places. So even if you get frustrated, it's completely okay. If you can remember as soon as you can to get into that place of being or stillness, or being, in your body and feeling it and accepting it, loving it if you can, then it'll often dissipate very quickly on its own. The other thing that really messes people up during retrogrades, I'm not sure about eclipses, but is the communication or miscommunications. So this can then cause more frustration, right? Because what you meant isn't what the other person perceives, and vice versa. There may be a word you put in there you didn't mean to put in there, and they interpret it a certain way, but that's not the way you meant. And then they said something, and that's not the way, you interpreted it a certain way. Anyway. So you think they're upset at you, or you're upset at them. So this stuff, happens more often, supposedly, during retrograde. So if you know that could happen, that's really helpful, right? Like you can just go, okay, it's probably this retrograde thing. So what we can do is get into a more humble space, and again, tap into stillness. And this is the message I am here to give to you today. During these retrogrades, that there is an opportunity and an upleveling, because during retrogrades, there's also ascension upgrades, right? So there's an upleveling of our telepathic abilities. Let me repeat that. There is an upleveling of our telepathic abilities. So the pro and cons of those, of that talent or gift being elevated, is that it's so much easier to send the feeling of what you mean with whatever words, whether it be text or whatever. Oftentimes phone calls best, right? But if you're sending text or messages or emails, is to send the feeling of that, and being in a place of stillness really helps. Because the person will then receive more of the feeling. However, a lot of times when we're frustrated, guess what? That's the con. We're also sending that feeling of frustration. Eeks. Done it. Okay. Sometimes you can't take it back, but what you can do is apologize, and you can take ownership and responsibility for that. And even if you say, I'm sorry about that, or I didn't mean that, or oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're feeling upset. That was not my intention. And it's not about groveling. It's not about being lower than the other person. It's not about putting yourself down. It's really about taking responsibility that, hey, I'm 100% responsible for this miscommunication, as they are as well. But I'm going to take that 100% responsibility, and I'm going to own that. And in that way, you can create peace. And the other thing, too, that you can do in this space, since telepathy and telepathic abilities are increasing among humans, is use it consciously. So transformational telepathy. This is something I talk a little bit about and have the instructions in my Sensitive Soul Empowerment Guide. So the 3 ways of navigating your way to more peace, positivity, and personal power, that PDF. So if you don't have it, you can get it at sensitivesoulguide.com. So in there, I have the instructions on how to do transformational telepathy. And I got to tell you, for me, unless I just choose not to do it because I'm stubborn, sometimes, when I do it, it absolutely is like 100%. It works. It just, and everyone that I've taught it to, it works. So, so this is a really great way to piece out, if that's a word, or verb, piece out the communication between you and someone else. So the retrogrades give us ample opportunity to do things a different way than we've done in the past. And even though there may be miscommunications, glitches, things like that, life is not quote unquote perfect. Guess what? You can always do something different. In this case, taking full responsibility, then doing transformational telepathy, then sending the frequency and energy of what you do mean. And because at the end of the day, the harmony within us and among us, that's what's really going to create peace on earth. It's not legislation. Okay, it's not, the hashtags that are going around right now. Okay, it's not the anti-racism movement or the pro whatever Black Lives Matter movement or any of these movements. At the end of the day, the bottom line is harmony within, harmony without, meaning outside, among us, all of us. That's really the crux of what has to happen in order for our world to be in that peaceful state that we all really, in our heart of hearts, really want. I did want to mention a couple of things about machines, just because I thought this was really interesting about my own personal experience, and see if it resonates with you. So I asked, God, Source, about, the retrogrades, and did the retrogrades mess up my machines through my emotions? And the answer was no in my case, but what was really interesting was the learning. So there's about 4 or 5% that the machines, in other words, computers, were messing up for some of us. Not related to human emotion, but was related to, interestingly, in my case, Windows updates. So my question is, why would one put a whole bunch of Windows updates during retrograde? Probably because the company doesn't really know about the retrograde, or they don't think that it makes a difference, or they just put the update as soon as possible because they think that's going to be helpful, or I don't think this is the case, or they know that it's going to mess people up and put the updates during the time of retrograde. Anyway, so I went and updated Windows Update. There were so many, oh my gosh, so many. It took hours to complete these updates, okay? And then I had to have the computer tech guy go in, because I was like, okay, now it's really slow. Now the computer's really slow. And he found that one driver in one of my computers was the Windows driver for the internet or something. And there was a driver that's specific to Lenovo computers that is preferred for Lenovo computers. So he disabled the Windows driver in order to re-enable the Lenovo one. Which had already been updated. So some of this issue had to do with these updates not being appropriate. Okay, so the other issue was that there were a lot of things in my internet browser that was making things slower. So you may have heard of these, like, It's a good idea to clear your history. Your history is kind of like where you've been, and think about it in our everyday human lives. Is that a good idea? The answer is yes. It's really a good idea to clear our history, right? Things that maybe bothered us in the past, things that were traumatic in the past, that is no longer necessary for going forward in a future reality, because guess what? It slows us down if we don't clear that history, right? What else do we clear on the computer? We can clear clear cache and cookies. So they help to speed up, going to the same sites over and over again. So, and also so that's the cache, and the cookies help them identify that you've been to the site before. So if you're an affiliate, who referred you, we'll keep tabs on that. Now, is that good to clear as well? Yeah, it does take up space. It does take up space in your browser's engine, so to speak. I'm not a computer person, so just bear with me. It's not an engine, but you know what I mean. So, so if you clear your cache, then yeah, things may load a little slower to the sites that you often go to. But how often in our lives do we keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again? And really, we should be going to different places or doing it differently, right? So if we have a pathway to something that we do or habit that is not for our highest and greatest good to continue doing, we don't really want that cache to be there. We don't want to make it faster and easier for us to go into that bad habit, right? We want to make new habits. So clearing our cache is a really great idea. Okay, are you getting this? Are you following me here? The computer analogy? So clearing cookies similarly is like sometimes some things that we're affiliated with in our spiritual past or even our emotional past. Sometimes we need to cut those cords and those affiliations because they no longer serve us. So that'd be like clearing your cookies. So for example, I go to some website and my husband's like, oh, check out the underwear there, right? And the men's underwear, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's great, we order it, that's great. Is it okay to have the cookies there because we're gonna go there again? Yeah, sure. They know where we came from, they know the coupon codes, whatever, right? But I might go to something else, and I might want to think I want to buy something, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to buy this, right? But I've accepted cookies. So what happens is that it's like everybody knows that I've been there. So clearing cookies is a really good idea as well, because we can break those affiliations that we no longer need, or choose consciously to go, yes, I'm here in the site, I'm going to accept cookies here, I'm going to clear it, I'm going to come back and get, so have a conscious communication and a conscious relationship with these, sites. So this means, a conscious relationship with others, right, in our lives. So when we clear those cords, energetic cords, we can then, when we meet them again, start anew. So I think these are really great analogies to our human lives. So what else do we do with our computers? Well, we clear temp files to get things running faster. So temporary files. So if you've looked at downloaded something, or there's a lot of temp files. Okay, I can't even explain what they are, but there's a lot of temp files that you don't need anymore. You need it at the time, you don't need anymore. So how much junk do we collect in our lives? Well, I collect quite a bit, actually. And my issue has been recycling. Because if I buy something, I sometimes don't think immediately, how am I going to recycle this when this breaks? I just keep thinking, oh, it's going to last forever. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, now that I have this and it's broken, and I can't be fixed, now what do I do with it, right? So then I collect this junk. So we have to find a way to clear those temporary files, in our lives, and choose more consciously what we do purchase or buy or connect with, So it's a good idea to clear your home, your space, and internally, this is where I am pretty good at clearing internally those temporary files, those memories, those things that I don't need anymore, that no longer serve me. Otherwise, you get overwhelmed. You can even think temporary files as you being a highly sensitive soul and sensing what's going on in the world and all the angst and the emotions and things like that. It's okay that you sense it. You don't have to if you don't need to. But then if you hang on to it, that's like not clearing your temporary files, right? Your whole life is like, well, it gets overwhelmed, you get tired, you get drained. So we need to purge these temporary sensing, files that we do not need, that is not our soul mission, it's not part of our soul evolution, it's not part of our soul experience, not part of our soul mission, right? It's not our job. then we got to clear those. So learning how to clear very, very quickly and efficiently is really important. So let's see, I got some notes here. Oh yeah, so we talked about clearing cache, cookies, browser history, temp files. Okay, right? This is what the computer guy was helping me do. So clearing is very important for ourselves as well as our machines. And the cool thing is he installed a couple new programs that are specific to Lenovo that work with Lenovo machines to automate the clearing. Yeah, to automate some of the clearing and to optimize the PC's performance. Now, some of you Mac people are like, we don't have to do that. Macs are awesome. Good for you. Okay, but for PCs, you know, it's a really good idea. And so I got to be honest, I did not pay attention to that. Like, I just use my PCs and using, but I don't really take time every week to like take care of it. I just go, oh, you're going to automatically update, right? But there are some things that we do need to take care of. And so same thing in our lives. Sometimes there are things that we need to regularly take care of. Clearing our energetic space is one of them. Clearing our auras is one of them, you know, and there's a whole bunch of other things as well. So, so now that I have these apps, you know, these programs on all three, well, I didn't do James's yet, but I don't think he wants me to touch his computer. Anyway, after the trouble I had with mine. So I have these three programs now. It's called Lenovo System Care. So what it does is, you know, he says, oh yeah, just run it. You don't have to run it that often, just once a week. And I'm thinking, oh God, I never do that, right? So once a week. So we're going to run it. So it'll optimize PC performance, and there's like a malware scan, and there's some other, you know, bells and whistles that go with it. But I think that's a good idea for all of us, right? To really be consciously doing some clearing, grounding, settling. And then what I love to do after all these updates and things like that is reboot and reset. So the computer needs to do that, and we need to do that as well. So we need to reboot and reset all parts of us, and there's actually a Topogan healing directive for that. And so it's very simple. Now, if you already have, the Ascension 3 jewelry, if you had, bought one on the pre-launch, or you have my Ascension 2 MP3 or Deep Healing 2 and 4, or Awaken Your Superpowers, you can actually do this. You just tell it to reboot and reset all parts of you. Okay, according to Dr. Karen's 2.0 protocol. But if you want to know the actual words, okay, the Topogan directive, here it is. So if you want to receive it right now, go ahead and you can close your eyes and receive it. Tell me how it feels afterwards. I now command that all parts of you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, dimensionally, be reset and rebooted, revived, renewed, rejuvenated, regenerated, rebalanced, recalibrated, realigned, restored to radiant maximal health and function in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease and grace. Thank you. All right, so let that settle in. Let me know how that feels for you. And you can say this every day if you want, even ideally twice a day, in the morning and before you go to bed at night, to reset and reboot your systems. I think this is something that's absolutely necessary these days with all the ascension changes that we're going through. And we forget that, yeah, sometimes we need to do that. Right? We need to optimize our systems. Things need to recalibrate. Things need to shift and change. All parts of us, our human bodies, are a little slower than our energetic bodies, so there has to be some rebalancing going on, and sometimes we just don't know that we can do this consciously and quickly. Okay, so some announcements for this week. On Monday's radio show, we are going to be airing the pre-recorded interview with Johanna Mezer. She's actually a former client of mine, and so was her son, and she's written some really cool, amazing books. And one of the things I wanted to get her on the show and to talk about is her process of how, what she did as a mom of a highly sensitive child who is now an adult. And she has some amazing wisdom to share, because it can be a very challenging and frustrating, and in her case, sometimes dangerous journey, to navigate. How do I, work with a highly sensitive teen who has a mind of his own, right? So how do I work with the school system? how do I, that kind of thing. So definitely, if you are a grandparent or parent of a highly sensitive child, I highly recommend that you listen to this show. It's at 12 noon on Monday on Light Warrior Radio. We'll post the link near this video. And even if you can't make it when it airs, you can go ahead and click the link later and you'll see the recording there. All right, so check it out. So the second announcement is that the Evolutionary Healer book and summit is launching in the next little while, and we've created a Facebook group. This is a Facebook group that you can join, and the link is below this video, and I'd love for you to join it, because what we're going to be doing is twice a week we're going to be doing some Facebook Live mini healings and readings. There are 18 of us in this book. Okay, Evolutionary Healer book, 18 of us, and I personally know two of the 18 authors besides myself: Nicole Thibodeau, the awesome Oracle of Divine Transmission, and Gwen Leopard, who's the Radiant Relationship luminary. So you definitely want to check that out, because there's a lot of free healings and guidance and mentorship going on in that group. So join that group. Go ahead and click the link below to ask to join on July 1st. We'll be kind of live there, and you will see twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, there will be a live interview there. There's going to be some other things posted there that you may like, and of course invite all your like-minded friends that are into energy healing in that space. It'd be so fun. Our book formally launches in September, the first week of September, so you definitely want to put that on your calendar. I'd super appreciate if you could support me in the book launch. We would love to make this a bestseller, to let more people know about energy healing and this kind of self-healing. So mark it down, first week of September, 1 to 10, to help with the book launch. That would be super awesome. Thank you in advance. So definitely join that Facebook group. The third announcement is that if you happen to miss, we did email everyone kind of last minute, but if you missed my live 25-minute, actually more 30-minute healing for healer Karen Davidson on Tuesday, I did record it, and that I put on YouTube, and it's actually an unlisted link. So I'm just going to give you that link underneath this video so you can see that healing. So the cool thing was, it was Karen's birthday. She had been diagnosed with what doctors would call liver failure, ascites, and was up for a liver transplant with no seemingly known reason for all this. But she was given 3 months to live, and she's like, not believing you guys, So she kept doing her work and healing, and she's still with us today, and she's improving and improving. And so her friends and her organized a telesummit, a 24-hour telesummit, to actually do healing on her. So they asked if I would volunteer, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So we got to do it on Zoom. So you actually have a chance to see visually what I actually do, or what Topican healers do with the Topican healing. So you get to see, what we do with the charts. We get to see the questions. You even get to see how I type the notes. That's the way I do it anyway. And so I think it may be really helpful if you're curious about, I wonder what a Topican healing session is really like. This is a great example of it. So we did record it, put an unlisted link, and you can go ahead and click that below and bookmark it so you can watch it and check it out and let me know what you think. Yay! Okay, so until next time, this is Spiritual Medicine Digest for this week. I will talk to you soon, and lots of love. Bye for now.